Linguists in your area.
Hello everyone! Today, Linguists in Your Area is back to discuss another topic.
Yeah, today we're going to discuss Malaysian university students' attitudes and beliefs towards English, the language policy, and how it has impacted the local languages.
If you haven't yet, do head to our previous post to see the summary that we have done for our interviews.
So now let's begin with how Malaysian students perceive English. It is almost 2021 and I am so happy that these interviewees show a really positive attitude towards English. Because to me, English is the language today, right? So you use it for international conferences, looking for jobs and yada yada. Anyway, these interviewees, they see English as a universal language. And I think this is super important for communication, especially with international students lah. And they also see English as an identity marker. Because as Malaysians mostly speak non-standard compared to standard English, it can strongly associate oneself with being a Malaysian. Yeah. But I think speaking English may also misportray one's identity as a well-off person, or may give an impression of trying to show off. And surprisingly, they also see English as a situational medium instead. They see English as a language that should not be used with people who are not comfortable in speaking English. Yeah.
I think we can all agree that English has become such an important aspect in the lives of Malaysians, at least for students. Even if they don't use it as their daily medium of conversation, the EMI policy has made using English unavoidable. And I think from the students' perspectives, it is safe to say that English's status as Malaysia's second language is stable for the foreseeable future.
Let's move on to discuss the interviewees' views on the language policy. First off, our Sarawakian and Indian interviewees gave the impression that their views on the education policy depends on the subject that they're learning. And I agree with this, especially because English is the main language for subjects like law, international relations, and science. If a person has spent a long time learning a subject in a particular language, it would be a disaster to suddenly change it. And all the interviewees agree that BM should be the first language and English as the second. And I agree with what the Malay interviewees' justification was that English is used for communication, but minority languages are used in certain situations only. So it's only fair for it to be that way. However, the Chinese and Malay interviewees believe that it is important to have basic knowledge of the minority languages as they are crucial and should not be left behind.
I would just like to give us something to think about. For the Malays, I think that we have this privilege of having Bahasa Malaysia as our mother tongue, so it's easier for us to think that the status of minority languages is not an issue, but that is from our perspective, and those are other communities' languages. I mean, English wasn't widely used in the first place until around the 17th century, and that was because both speakers and non-speakers deemed it as an important lingua franca. The same attitude should be given towards minority languages, at least for me.
Can I say that I am genuinely surprised that none of the interviewees blamed English for the decreasing use of minority languages? Even our Indian interviewee says English is not the culprit for the decreasing usage of her mother tongue Tamil. I thought that some might see English as the culprit because that was my initial opinion. Most of them believe that it is the community that is responsible. The Malay interviewee suggests that speakers themselves control the language they speak, i.e. if the language is abandoned or unused, then it's because the speakers chose to do so. And I feel like this is such a refreshing take on the issue because people usually blame the globalization of English as the cause of language death, which is true. It is one of the biggest factors. But it's made me realize that at the end of the day, each and every single one of us has the responsibility to conserve our own mother tongue.
Yes, absolutely, Anis. It's clear that the interviewees do not blame the language policy for the decreasing number of local and minority language speakers. It's in fact due to the speakers themselves. Just like how our Indian interviewee mentioned that some parents don't converse in their native languages with their children and they use English instead. Why? Well, it's because parents decide that it's better to teach them English because they know it's important and want to train their kids. And rightly so, as English is a language that is tied to economic success. But the downside of this would be that their children wouldn't be as fluent as their parents in their native languages.
Also, overall, excluding our Sarawakian interviewee, they think that minority languages should be given some kind of status. What's intriguing is that One of the suggestions is to retain Bahasa Malaysia and English as our national and second languages respectively, but to give minority languages the status of the third languages. Of course, perhaps with this suggested change, Malaysians might need to, take up any one of the minority languages, but if we can do that for English, then why not our own local minority languages, right? And the increasing debate in the ASEAN community revolves around our risk of eradicating diversity and promoting homogeneity instead. So, preserving languages is one of the ways to curb this issue. Our local and minority languages are supposed to be an identity marker, not a shame sign.
Yeah, I kind of get it. Giving these minority languages in the third language status can help prevent homogeneity. Because from my perspective, when these languages are given an official status, the use of these languages will definitely increase widely, and thus they will be preserved lah in Malaysia. For example, maybe in universities it should be made compulsory for them to offer minority language classes to students. Yeah.
Alrighty, we have reached 100% coverage for our IGTV and podcast series.
Yay! We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop your comments below.
Thank you so much for staying with us while we cover topics on Malaysia's language policy.
And don't forget, we always got you covered.
Bye! Thank you!
Thank you.
Alright, so to conclude, positive and negative attitudes that the interviewees have towards English and Malaysia's language policy are based on a few factors. And those factors are, number 1, their upbringing, number 2, the ethnic community that they belong to, and number 3, their knowledge on language itself. Their upbringing affects how they view the importance of languages besides their mother tongue, while their belonging to a specific ethnic community somewhat reflects their level of concern towards other local and minority languages. We actually found out that their idea of minority languages was limited to Chinese, Tamil, and Aboriginal languages, which is just a slither of the number of minority languages that we actually have in Malaysia. So all in all, we think that further research is required with larger data and perhaps can expand to more focus groups. Ours is currently limited to university students. So there you go. I'll see you in the comments section. Bye! Linguists in your area. Linguists in your area.